when you look at what a lot of rap is about, a lot of people say, like myself, living in the suburbs, swimming in my pool. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, I don't relate to it. But that's just saying it's not only a generational thing, but has rap transcended just an urban message? I think the answer is yes.
It always has.
So, brings up where there's this guy called DMO. Just a regular guy from what I can understand. He calls himself DMO the Real. He sings about something, well, or raps about something that is probably one of the biggest social conversations that we have currently. And I mean, it doesn't matter what part of the world. When you start talking about mental illness, when you start talking about depression, the last thing I thought I would see is a white guy rapping in his car, just kind of, nonchalant, puts on the music, puts on his beat, so to speak, and starts singing about something that might be the most relevant issue of our time. I just want you to show this, once again, property of DMO. This is something that now has well over 1 million hits. I want to know what you think of this.
Hey, what's going on? I wrote something for y'all. Check it out for me, please. It means a lot. I wake up every day and I just want to be happy, but my brain does not cooperate. It's honestly tragic. Living with depression ain't what most people think. I try so motherfucking hard, but I'm still on the brink. Things can seem perfect, but in my head nothing's working. I think that I need a surgeon to cut me open, observe it. Please tell me what is wrong with me, cause I don't understand. Used to hide these problems behind drugs, now I'm a different man. Stop drinking and dropping them, diagnosing my problems. Now I know the issue, but no idea how to stop them. It's the craziest thing, cause I can see it when it happens, but I can't stop these feelings from racing in and then crashing. And I can feel the collision all the way down in my stomach, like I got punched in the gut and there ain't no running from it. I could be up at the summit, one thing happened, I plummet. They tell me take my meds and calm down, but I don't like feeling nothing. Now let me tell y'all folks something. I've been like this my whole life, been trying to hide it and fight it. That shit ain't go right. My methods of coping was just me drinking and smoking. Anything I could take, I'd pop it in and keep going, but that was just me not knowing that I was making it worse. If I had stayed on that path, I'd probably be in a hearse, cause I was feeling so cursed. Nothing ever went my way, and nothing but negative thoughts was present in my brain. Laying down at night, but ain't no sleep coming my way. My brain won't shut the fuck up, it's been doing this all day. Do you know what it's like to have to fight with yourself? Trying to seem happy without liking yourself? It all could be over just by blasting yourself, but I ain't the one to give up in this fight, I need help. See, with this problem at hand, it's hard to talk to your friends. You don't want someone to judge you and look at you different, so I meet paper with pen. I open up in these notes, it's really all I can do to get the words on my throat. And I ain't looking for someone to feel sorry for me, nah, I'm just trying to explain all this pain I got inside. When all you taught is you ain't good enough when you growing up, it makes it hard to see you good enough when you growing up. Fake it till you make it, that's what everybody say to do. So if the shoe fits, I might as well wear it too. See, I'm the funny guy, cracking jokes, deflecting attention, cause I don't want nobody noticing that my soul is missing. And if you feeling I'm distant, you probably right. People ask what's wrong, I say nothing, I'll be alright, and I continue to fight. It's an everyday struggle, like I'm at war with myself. When my emotions start to bubble, people telling me my lyrics are dope. I'm staying humble, I'm just writing what I'm feeling, trying to help people that struggle. If you feeling what I'm saying, keep your head up. And if you need someone to talk to, hit my line up. Please do not ever give up until your time's up. Things will get better, it's just gonna take some time, bruh. Thank you.
That to me is one of the most powerful things I think I've ever seen of late. Certainly when it comes to something that's musical, something that's relevant, something that is happening for the here and today. So I was almost speechless the first time I saw that, and knowing that a couple of weeks ago I had a school friend in and from my childhood, and I've known her for over 50 years. I had no idea she suffered from that. Started drinking at 9, self-medicating, dealing with depression and mental illness, and she came on and talked about that story. She had seen this as well, and she's a person of faith, so sometimes the language wasn't, but it was, as they say, as he says, it's the real. What do you make of that? Is that something to you that when you look at the genesis of maybe where rap came from. Should this be surprising?
No, because it's always been there. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. Ha 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 ha. Melvin Glover. Grandmaster Melly Mel from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five back in 1982. You know, and that people are surprised that, oh, it's a white guy. Don't be surprised by that, Mike, because one of the first big rap hit ever, Rapper's Delight, Wonder Mike comes out and says, now I am Wonder Mike, and I'd like to say hello to the black, the white, the red, and the brown, the purple, and yellow. So right away, there's a disparity between the perception and the reality of rap. Rap was always inclusive. He's speaking to everyone, no matter what you look like. Right? And so it shouldn't be a surprise because everyone has issues. Everyone has problems. How we deal with those problems or how those problems are dealt with is something that, you know, can be a bone of contention. You know, during the crack era, people who are on crack, were seen as criminals. But now during the opioid crisis, now it's a mental health issue. It's always been a mental health issue. It's always been a health issue. Whether it be crack or opioids. But now that we see the complexion of those who are suffering from these afflictions and addictions changing, because primarily crack was seen as a black drug, and opioid crisis because it's out in the suburbs, you know, and in an area where more rap music is purchased than any other area in the world. But, you know, so there's some relation, whether it be voyeuristic or not. The opioid crisis moved out of the inner city, where it was when it was in the inner city, it wasn't a problem. Now all of a sudden it's in the suburbs and in the country and on rural roads and routes like that. Now it's an epidemic. It's a crisis. We need to solve this crisis. So again, that becomes a political issue and also a matter of how certain things are manicured and massaged in the media. And, you know, to go back to the wise words of Wonder Mike, this has always been a part of whether you talk about, like, these kids in these communities, they don't want, you know, as much as you hear them talk about, yeah, I'm in the hood, they don't want that. They don't live in the hood anymore. Once they start making money, they move out of the hood because the same crime element you fear, I fear too. So again, why these young people who are writing about stories and making stories up are held to a different standard than a Stephen King, who I don't have a career. I'm sure he doesn't have a deranged dog somewhere. You know, when was the last time that George Lucas went to the Dagobah system? I don't know. He's never been there. You can write a story and it be a story, but somehow these kids are obligated to somehow that everything they write has to be what they actually lived. And that's not always true. There's storytellers, there's songwriters. And I think sometimes we get this misconception about that. But to go back to the mental health part of it, and this has always been a part of it, Mind Playing Tricks on Me by the Ghetto Boys. You know, they're talking about being deluded. So these are things that oftentimes in those communities of color that didn't get, like when shootings happen in those communities, they don't get grief counseling. Just shake it off and keep it moving. But they're suffering from a lot of the same things as well. And I think that sometimes we spend a lot of time trying to create these lines of delineation between these young people of different backgrounds, when in actuality, the problem is real across the board. It's how it's dealt with and how we deal with it as individuals. Because if you haven't been given encouragement to speak to someone, or if you've been told all your life, you know, suck it up, you're a man, there are a lot of things that go on there. There's a sociopathy to it that can't just be explained through geography or race. That there's a lot going on there, and so.
Well, you know, it's interesting you talked about the storyteller aspect of it, because, I mean, that's a big part of what a lot of music is. You know, it doesn't matter what. I mean, you look at Rush. They probably weren't riding Pegasus or going up and by touring the Snow Dog.
Oh, they were riding Pegasus.
Yeah, a different kind.
Yeah.
Right? A different kind. But I said the one thing that I think was, at least, you know, in my age group, when you know, I'm in probably the latter part of high school, you know, and run DMC, and you know, I had never heard anyone really, you know, because this whole thing about keeping it real wasn't a rock thing. I mean, the Rolling Stones weren't going, oh yeah, we're the Rolling Stones, and you know, they didn't say their name in their songs. It was something that was different, but that was okay too. And I think that when you look at what rap is, and I told you that Royce the 5'9" had come in. I didn't know who he was, obviously, before he came in the studio. And I watched at that time, his latest video, where he goes on and he basically talks about all these things he felt in his life he had failed at. This was not the pretty side of things. This was him bearing his soul about being a terrible father, being a terrible husband, not being, as he put it, probably the kind of Christian man that he maybe wanted to be, at least because I was important to him, and that he had underachieved. And he sits on the show, and I basically say to him, I said, number one, you're telling me that you're a failure or were a failure. This is the oldest. What you're doing is the oldest form of storytelling we've had since the cavemen were putting logs together and creating fire. It is storytelling that is a very personal thing, which I think, in a lot of ways, and people might want to argue country music. Now you want to argue, but I'm telling you, no one really bared their soul like that until we started hearing about people singing where they lived, where there was only a mother, there was no father, or maybe it was the oldest brother or the oldest sister. Rock music and popular music to that point in the 70s, I don't think really addressed those kinds of things the way rap did.
What? We just become best friends? Yep.